The Liberal Democrats, Layla Moran, joins me now to talk about her party's plans to crack down on water pollution. Thanks so much for joining us this morning. Are you sort of surprised that we're not seeing other parties talk about this more, this election campaign?
Well, I can tell you it's certainly coming up on doorsteps when I'm out there. It is a top concern of voters from a wide range of backgrounds, young, old, people who remember from their childhood, being able to freely swim in their rivers and lakes and now look at the state that they're in and wondering how on earth did we get here? So absolutely, I think it's right that the Liberal Democrats are putting this very high up our list of priorities in this election. And we've got a really comprehensive plan with how we deal with it.
Oh, I was going to say, how achievable is it to eradicate the problems that we've seen over a 5-year term?
So it is going to take new legislation, and at its heart are two main parts. The first is to completely reform how water companies are run. We would turn them into public benefit companies, which means that rather than putting their profits and shareholders first, they would have to put the local environment and their communities first. This is a model that exists elsewhere, works elsewhere, especially in America, and actually we think would make a big difference. But that alone would not be enough. We'd also want to get rid of Ofwat. It is a busted regulator. It's got no teeth at all. And when you do that and replace it with what we'd like to call a clean water authority, the two together would be transformative. So today we're announcing £10 million to recruit sewage inspectors. One of the reasons why we got here in the first place, if we're going to tackle the root cause of how we got here, is the fact that water companies have been allowed to mark their own homework. That cannot be allowed to continue. And we've also had an underfunded and understaffed environment agency. So we want sewage busters to come in to tackle this national scandal who would sit under the new Clean Water Authority. And that is the beginnings of a package. We'd have to put legislation together. We're full of these good ideas. And I genuinely think that this is a popular policy that other parties would want to help us achieve in government, no matter who ends up in government.
We were talking with Labour about the EU renegotiation. Clearly, Lib Dems have said in their manifesto want to rejoin the single market. What price, in terms of other areas of relationships with the EU, are the Lib Dems willing to pay to get the single market access back?
So first of all, I think it's worth reflecting a little bit on why this matters. Top of our manifesto is the cost of living crisis. The health of the economy really matters right now. And the reason why in our manifesto we have a 4-step plan that eventually, and eventually is a really important word here because there's a lot to wade through, which I know you guys as broadcasters have already been talking about, to the single market. And we want to be at the heart of Europe again because that is the single biggest lever we could pull to improve our economy and fund our public services. But we also have to recognize where we are now. You've got an electorate that does not want to go backwards in terms of divisive politics. We've got to bring everyone with us. But we've also got our European cousins who have had years of all the air of their own politics taken out by this question. They don't want to revisit that unless they know that the British government and Parliament is serious. So what we've suggested are, first of all, baby steps for how we would rebuild that trust with the EU. And we would start with a mobility scheme for under 35s. Young people in this country feel that they just don't have the same security and opportunities that many of us enjoyed when we were the same age. It's entirely unfair. And so we think this would be a gesture of goodwill to the European Union, but also more importantly, those younger voters who are looking at this election going, what's in it for me? The Liberal Democrats are proposing this scheme. It would allow them to live, work, go and discover new jobs, maybe fall in love elsewhere, as many did, and be able to start that relationship with Europe again.
Layla Moran from the Lib Dems, thank you.
Thank you.